What happened between you and Bill Murray on the set of Saturday Night Live?
Billy jumped up from this couch they were sitting on, lounging on. He was probably ready to scratch me up.
Hollywood has always been full of big egos, but few clashes shocked insiders like the feud between Chevy Chase and Bill Murray. What began as jokes and tension behind the scenes quietly exploded into an off-screen fight that would change their relationship forever. For years, rumors swirled about what really happened and who crossed the line first. Now, Chevy Chase is finally opening up, and his words paint a very different picture of Bill Murray than fans expect. Join us in this video as we reveal the details. This is the story Hollywood never wanted fully told until now. Chevy Chase and Bill Murray's fight when SNL exploded backstage. Saturday Night Live has always been intense by design. Every week is a race against the clock, with writers and performers forced to compete and cooperate at the same time, all leading to one unmovable deadline: 11:30 p.m. Over the years, many people who worked behind the scenes have admitted that the pressure alone was enough to push emotions to the edge. It was not exactly a healthy environment, but for all the shouting matches, bruised egos, and quiet grudges, that tension only crossed into real, physical violence once. That moment came on February 18, 1978, during an episode that has since become legendary. Former cast member Chevy Chase returned to host the show, only to discover that new cast member Bill Murray was waiting backstage, fists clenched and ready to confront years of built-up resentment. Chevy Chase's SNL story began with explosive success and ended with simmering bitterness. In the show's first season, Chase was clearly the breakout star. His face, his name, and especially his role on Weekend Update made him the person audiences most associated with the young show. Producer Lorne Michaels favored him early on, which only increased Chase's visibility. That spotlight, however, quickly wore thin with the rest of the cast. John Belushi, in particular, was said to resent Chase's rapid rise. Having already achieved major success with National Lampoon's Radio Hour and the stage show Lemmings, Belushi believed, not unreasonably, that his fame should have carried over to SNL in the same way. Chase did little to calm the tension. As his fame grew and substance became part of the culture at SNL in the 1970s, Chase developed a reputation for being increasingly self-absorbed and difficult. Media attention only made things worse. One early magazine article focused almost entirely on Chase, barely acknowledging the rest of the cast. Lorraine Newman, Jane Curtin, and Gilda Radner were even dismissively labeled Chevy's Girls. In response, the three performers wrote and performed a sarcastic musical number that pretended to praise Chase while clearly mocking the situation. After just one season, Chase left SNL to chase Hollywood stardom. His departure brought relief to the cast, but also anxiety. The show's future was still uncertain, and losing its biggest name was risky. While Belushi and Dan Aykroyd confidently stepped forward as new centerpieces, producer Lorne Michaels cautiously eased audiences away from Chase with a few brief guest appearances early in Season 2. When Bill Murray joined the cast, Michaels was careful, knowing the raw but talented newcomer might be seen as the new Chevy. In the years that followed, SNL's reputation exploded. Bill Murray found his footing, winning over audiences and cementing his place alongside Belushi, Aykroyd, and Gilda Radner. So, when Chase returned to host the 11th episode of Season 3, fresh off an NBC special and while filming Foul Play, he walked into a very different environment. The power balance had shifted, and this time, Chase was no longer the untouchable star. According to authors Doug Hill and Jeff Weingrad in their 1986 book Saturday Night, blame for what followed was shared by nearly everyone involved. Chase reportedly returned with an entitled attitude, fueled by ego and a growing substance habit. He even demanded that Jane Curtin be removed from the Weekend Update desk for the night. In a tense meeting, Chase bluntly told her, "You can't be on the screen with me at the same time." Belushi also played a key role, quietly stirring resentment against Chase. While Chase's reputation was already bad enough, Belushi made sure the new guy, Bill Murray, understood the unspoken assignment. As Murray later explained in Live from New York, it felt like his job to confront Chase, something too petty for the others to do. Murray admitted he was pushed into the role. Throughout rehearsals, Murray increasingly provoked Chase. At one point, he stormed into a meeting and unleashed the cast's frustrations, crossing the line with a crude remark about Chase's marriage. Chase fired back with a cruel insult about Murray's acne-scarred face. At that moment, the situation was no longer salvageable. Just before airtime, Chase found Murray in Belushi's dressing room and confronted him. A hallway fight broke out, with punches flying as others rushed in to break it up, most of them landing on Belushi instead. The fight ended just in time for Chase to go on stage, but not before Murray delivered a final cutting insult. "Medium talent!" Chase performed the cold open and monologue, but the tension never left the stage. During Weekend Update, Jane Curtin finally snapped, telling Chase to go back to Hollywood. During the good nights, Murray paced angrily in the background, barely restrained. That night remains the most infamous off-screen fight in SNL history, a moment when pressure, ego, and resentment finally boiled over. Now that we have understood the famous feud between Chevy Chase and Bill Murray, let us go back to the very beginning. How did Chevy Chase rise to fame? Let's find out. Born rich, raised rough, Chevy Chase's complicated beginnings. Chevy Chase wasn't born into comedy. He was born into privilege and chaos. His real name, Cornelius Crane Chase, came from his wealthy step-grandfather, who built a fortune through the Crane plumbing empire. Chevy was born on October 8, 1943, in Lower Manhattan, and spent much of his childhood in Woodstock, New York. On the surface, his life looked polished and enviable. His father was a Princeton-educated magazine editor. His mother was a concert pianist. His extended family included artists, military officers, and even opera singers. It sounded like the perfect foundation for success. But behind that impressive family resume was a childhood far from stable. Chevy's parents divorced when he was just 4 years old, and both went on to remarry into other well-connected families. There was always money, but very little emotional security. In later interviews, Chevy claimed he suffered both physical and emotional turmoil from his mother and stepfather. He described punishments that went far beyond discipline, being slapped awake in the middle of the night, locked in closets, or confined to basements for days at a time. He said he lived in constant fear, even as a young child. School offered little escape. Chevy bounced between elite private schools, getting expelled from more than one before finally landing at the Stockbridge School in Massachusetts, where he surprisingly graduated as valedictorian. Even then, his personality stood out. He was sharp, funny, and occasionally cruel. He had a gift for slapstick comedy, played the drums, and loved elaborate pranks. One of his most infamous stories involved keeping a cow in his dorm room, a rumor Chevy later insisted was actually true. After graduating from Bard College with a degree in English, Chevy's future didn't follow the traditional paths expected of someone with his background. He avoided the military draft entirely, reportedly using a questionable claim about his health. Instead, he leaned into music and performance, playing drums in a band that included future members of Steely Dan. Comedy soon followed. His first real step toward stardom came in 1967, when he co-founded an underground comedy group called Channel One. It wasn't glamorous, but it allowed Chevy to sharpen his offbeat. biting sense of humor. By 1975, he landed on the very first season of Saturday Night Live. Almost immediately, he became the show's breakout star. His deadpan delivery on Weekend Update, paired with that unmistakable smirk, made him impossible to ignore. He was fast, confident, and, depending on who you asked, a little too full of himself. Hollywood noticed right away. Chevy quickly transitioned into starring roles in major comedies like Caddyshack, Fletch, and National Lampoon's Vacation. He became a reliable box office draw, the kind studios were eager to bet on. But as his fame grew, so did whispers about his behavior. Behind the scenes, co-workers often found him difficult, with sarcasm that sometimes cut too deep. Still, for a long stretch of time, audiences loved him, and Chevy Chase could seemingly do no wrong. How did Bill Murray become one of the biggest comedians in America? Keep watching to find out. Bill Murray, from Midwest grit to comedy stardom. Bill Murray came from a very different world than Chevy Chase. He was born on September 21, 1950, in Evanston, Illinois, to Lucille Murray, who worked in a mailroom, and Edward J. Murray, a lumber salesman. He grew up in a large Irish Catholic family with 8 siblings, in a household where money was tight and life was noisy, demanding, and unpredictable. His roots were deeply Midwestern, far removed from the polished East Coast privilege that shaped Chase. Family played a huge role in shaping Murray. His father's side traced back to County Cork, while his mother's family came from County Galway. Several of his siblings would eventually follow creative paths of their own. Brothers John Murray, Joel Murray, and Brian Doyle Murray all became actors, while his sister Nancy chose a very different calling, becoming a Dominican nun who later toured the country performing one-woman shows about historic religious figures. Tragedy also touched the family early. One sister suffered from polio, and Murray's mother endured multiple miscarriages. In 1967, when Bill was just 17, his father died from complications related to diabetes, a loss that forced Murray to grow up fast. Murray attended St. Joseph's Grade School before enrolling at Loyola Academy, an all-boys Jesuit high school in suburban Chicago. To help pay for tuition, he worked as a golf caddy, often rubbing shoulders with wealthy clients while coming from a far more modest background himself. Even then, Murray was restless and creative. He became the lead singer of a rock band called the Dutch Masters and threw himself into school and community theater whenever he could. After graduating from high school, Murray briefly attended Regis University in Denver, studying pre-med. It didn't last. He dropped out and returned to Illinois, unsure of what came next. Then, on his 20th birthday in 1970, he made a reckless decision that nearly derailed his future. At Chicago's O'Hare Airport, Murray was arrested for trying to smuggle nearly 10 pounds of cannabis. The situation worsened when he jokingly told another passenger he had a bomb in his luggage. He was convicted and sentenced to probation. A humiliating but life-altering wake-up call. Comedy soon became his escape. With encouragement from his older brother Brian, Murray joined Chicago's famed improvisational troupe, The Second City, studying under legendary teacher Del Close. His raw talent stood out. In 1974, he moved to New York City, where John Belushi helped bring him into the National Lampoon Radio Hour. That led to stage work in the National Lampoon Show and his first television job on ABC's Saturday Night Live with Howard Cosell, which lasted only one season. When NBC's Saturday Night Live debuted in 1975, Murray was still on the outside. But after Chevy Chase left the show, Murray officially joined the cast in Season 2. From 1977 to 1980, he became one of SNL's defining faces. His performances were unpredictable, loose, and effortlessly funny. During this time, he dated fellow cast member Gilda Radner and helped create memorable sketches, including his role in All You Need Is Cash, a parody of Beatles documentaries. By the late 1970s, Murray had become a national presence. He won an Emmy for Outstanding Writing for a variety series and landed his first starring film role in Meatballs in 1979. Bill Murray wasn't polished or privileged. He was rough around the edges, unpredictable, and impossible to ignore. And that contrast would soon collide head-on with Chevy Chase in one of comedy's most infamous backstage feuds. Did Chevy Chase and Bill Murray ever end their feud? Stay tuned to find out. From fists to funny, how Caddyshack changed everything. About a year and a half after their infamous backstage fight at Saturday Night Live, Chevy Chase and Bill Murray found themselves in the same place again. This time not in a narrow hallway, but on a sunny golf course in South Florida. Both actors were summoned to the Rolling Hills Golf Club to begin work on what would become the cult comedy Caddyshack. According to Chris Nashawati's Caddyshack, the making of a Hollywood Cinderella story, the film's production carried over much of the same chaotic energy that once filled the SNL studios. There was heavy partying, loose schedules, and plenty of substance use. But this time, it felt more like a boy's getaway than a pressure cooker. For Chevy Chase, who was dealing with a painful divorce and still adjusting to sudden movie star fame, the atmosphere felt like a relief. Bill Murray arrived later than most of the cast, partly because his role as the strange, mumbling groundskeeper Carl Spackler wasn't fully written yet. The character barely existed on the page. But once Murray stepped in, everything changed. His improvised lines, spiritual ramblings, and unhinged energy impressed director Harold Ramis so much that the role quickly expanded. Murray was given more scenes, more freedom, and more screen time. That expansion led to an unavoidable problem. Murray would have to share a scene with Chevy Chase, the same man he had nearly come to blows with on live television years earlier. Murray wasn't thrilled about it. Still, he agreed to fly back to Florida for a few days so the filmmakers could figure something out that actually worked. What they came up with was almost entirely improvised. The two comedians were dropped into a late-night golf scene, with Chase playing the smooth, wealthy Ty Webb and Murray as the scruffy, unpredictable Carl Spackler. There was no strict script. They were told to play off each other and see what happened. And something did happen. Once the cameras rolled, the tension seemed to melt away. In their element, Chase and Murray pushed each other creatively, each trying to outdo the other without stepping on the joke. The rivalry that once fueled punches now fueled punchlines. The result was one of the most memorable scenes in the film. Awkward, weird, and effortlessly funny. Caddyshack went on to become a major box office hit and a defining comedy of its era. It also helped turn both men into full-fledged A-list stars throughout the 1980s. Years later, Murray insisted there were no lingering hard feelings when the old feud was brought up. It was really a Hollywood fight, a don't-touch-my-face kind of thing, Murray told Empire in 2012, brushing it off. He described it as a strange emotional rupture, admitting the cast felt abandoned when Chase left SNL and that he had been pushed into acting as the group's unofficial enforcer. "But Chevy and I are friends now," Murray said. "It's all fine." Chase echoed that sentiment. Speaking to Nashawati, he said they had long since moved past the conflict. "We got over everything," Chase explained. "I have nothing but admiration and affection for Bill." He even acknowledged Murray's dominant presence in the film, adding, "Even though I'm the #1 star in the movie under the title, I'll always think of Caddyshack as Billy's movie." What once looked like an irreparable feud ultimately became one of comedy's most unlikely reconciliations, proof that sometimes even the ugliest clashes can lead to something unforgettable. Years later, how did a reunion bring the two stars Chevy Chase and Bill Murray closer? Let's find out. A feud finally put to rest. Chevy Chase and Bill Murray have never been strangers to headlines, but their surprise reunion at the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary after-party on Saturday, February 15th, caught many fans off guard. For some, it felt like the closing of a chapter that had been left open for nearly 5 decades. For years, the two comedy legends were defined as much by their rivalry as by their talent. Their feud dated all the way back to the late 1970s, when both were part of SNL's original pressure-filled cast. The tension was real, messy, and very public. That's why seeing them together again, relaxed, smiling, and clearly at ease, felt almost surreal. The moment became public when Chase shared a photo from the event on his Instagram the following day. Taken at the SNL 50 after-party in New York City, the picture showed Chase with his arm draped around Murray's shoulder, both men smiling directly at the camera. For longtime fans, it was instantly iconic. The comments flooded in. "Quite the cast. Good to see you with Bill and Eddie," one fan wrote, referencing another photo Chase shared with Eddie Murphy. Another chimed in, "Classic picture of you, Chevy and Bill," while a third simply said, "The Bill Murray pic." The goodwill wasn't limited to the after-party. During the anniversary special itself, Murray appeared on Weekend Update, where he took a playful jab that doubled as genuine praise. Introducing Chase by his full name, Murray joked, "Next up, Cornelius Crane Chase, who we've all come to know as Connie." Then came the acknowledgement fans never expected to hear. Murray admitted that Weekend Update wouldn't exist without Chase, adding that it would be wrong to place him anywhere but, after a pause, "No, 4." The line landed perfectly, blending affection, humor, and just enough edge to feel true to their history. What made the moment even more striking was Chase's complicated relationship with SNL in recent years. He has been openly critical of the show's current direction, even calling it out harshly in a 2018 Washington Post interview. Yet, despite his criticisms, Chase showed up, celebrated the milestone, and embraced the people who helped shape his career. For fans who remember the punches thrown, the insults traded, and the decades of tension that followed, this reunion felt different. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet, casual, and genuine. Two men who once embodied comedy's most infamous backstage feud stood side by side, smiling, as if to say that time, finally, had done its job. Although Bill Murray's feud with Chevy Chase was well known, there were other controversies he was linked to. Keep watching to find out about the conflicts Bill Murray has been involved in. Bill Murray's volatile side, talent, tension, and consequences. As beloved as Bill Murray is on screen, his career has also been marked by a long list of conflicts behind the scenes. Over the years, Murray has been involved in heated disagreements and feuds with several actors, including Sean Young, Nick Nolte, Seth Green, Rob Schneider, Gina Davis, Lucy Liu, Angelica Houston, and Richard Dreyfuss. His clashes weren't limited to fellow actors either. Directors and producers like McGee and Laura Ziskin also found themselves at odds with Murray at different points in his career. Even some of his most famous collaborations weren't without friction. Murray has openly admitted that he and director Richard Donner didn't get along while filming Scrooged. Donner later described Murray as superbly creative, but also occasionally difficult, noting that his behavior could be as challenging as any actor's. One of the most painful rifts came during the making of Groundhog Day, when Murray had a serious falling out with director and longtime collaborator Harold Ramis. According to screenwriter Danny Rubin, The two were like brothers who simply couldn't get along. Their creative differences were so intense that the partnership ended entirely in 1993. That split lasted more than 2 decades. It wasn't until shortly before Ramos's death in February 2014 that the two reconciled. Murray later paid tribute to Ramos at the 86th Academy Awards, a moment that many saw as deeply emotional and long overdue. Even on productions that were ultimately successful, tension followed Murray. During the filming of Lost in Translation, director Sofia Coppola acknowledged that Murray and Scarlett Johansson didn't always get along. Still, Coppola described Murray as fun to work with overall. Johansson later explained that Murray had been in a hard place at the time, adding that the two eventually reconciled. In April 2022, Murray's reputation took a serious hit when production on Being Mortal was abruptly suspended. He was accused of unspecified, inappropriate behavior toward a female crew member. The matter was settled privately for $100,000. Years later, in 2025, Murray publicly addressed the incident. He explained that while wearing a mask during COVID, he kissed the woman through the mask, believing it to be harmless and funny, something he claimed he had done before. He admitted the situation haunted him, saying he rarely went more than a few days without thinking about it. Despite the backlash, Murray received public support from longtime collaborator Wes Anderson. Scarlett Johansson also defended him, stating that the COVID era and the misconduct allegation had clearly changed and humbled him. She added that the incident ultimately led to Murray being held accountable for behavior that should no longer be excused. Bill Murray's career has always walked a fine line between brilliance and volatility. His talent is undeniable, but so is the trail of conflicts that follow him, a pattern that adds deeper context to his explosive history with Chevy Chase and the moment that finally forced everything into the open. What heartbreaking situation has Chevy Chase been involved in, and what happened to him? Stay tuned to find out. Chevy Chase's health scares and resilience. Chevy Chase's life has never been without drama, but in recent years, the spotlight has turned toward his health. In early 2021, Chase was hospitalized for a serious heart issue. When he returned home, he told Page Six, "I can only say how happy I am to now be back with my family. I'm feeling good. I was in the hospital for 5 weeks. A heart issue. So for now, I'm around the house." He added that his high-energy days of performing slapstick for thousands of fans were on pause, especially with COVID-19 still a risk. Later, he revealed the scare had been near-fatal heart failure, a stark reminder of life's fragility. Fans grew concerned again in early December 2023, when Chase wheeled onto the stage in a wheelchair and suddenly fell off during a National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation talk in Buffalo, New York. The incident, captured on camera, looked alarming, but his team quickly reassured the public that it was not serious. A representative said, "He took a fall at the part of the stage that was not lit well, but thanks to all his falls on SNL, it was like riding a bike again. Just a little boo-boo. All good." Further explaining to the Daily Mail, his team said, "He sometimes uses the chair due to all the airport travel, even at 80 years young. He does not need rest. His tour is extensive during the holiday season." Just days later, Chase appeared healthy and in good spirits at a reunion with his Christmas Vacation co-stars Beverly D'Angelo, Randy Quaid, and Miriam Flynn at ChristmasCon 2023 in Edison, New Jersey. Behind the scenes, though, Chase has faced lasting challenges. In a 2022 episode of the Fly on the Wall podcast with Dana Carvey and David Spade, he revealed he had been experiencing memory loss following his hospitalization for heart failure in 2021. The severity and permanence of this memory loss remain unclear, but it has not stopped him from staying active and maintaining his signature humor. Chase even continues to engage with fans on Instagram, showing that despite recent health struggles, he is still very much present and resilient. Could Bill Murray be retiring? Let's find out. Is Bill Murray quietly saying goodbye? Bill Murray has always thrived on unpredictability. One moment he's headlining a comedy classic. The next, he's casually showing up in an unexpected cameo that leaves audiences laughing and asking, "Did that really just happen?" That sense of surprise has followed him throughout his career. Fans have never known where he might turn up next, and that mystery has always been part of his appeal. But now, at 75 years old, Murray's future in Hollywood is sparking new conversations. Some are wondering if the legendary actor may be preparing to take his final bow. His latest project, The Friend, feels different. Released in March 2025 and now streaming, the film has been described as deeply heartfelt and emotionally grounded. It currently holds a strong 83% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and is based on the novel by Sigrid Nunez. The story centers on a writer who unexpectedly inherits a Great Dane after the sudden death of a close friend, a quiet premise that leans more on emotion than spectacle. Murray's performance has drawn particular praise. He blends his familiar charm with a level of vulnerability that feels raw and sincere. Critics have noted how easily the role could have been played for lightness, but Murray resists that temptation. Instead, he leans into the grief, confusion, and resilience at the core of the story. For fans who grew up watching him deliver sharp one-liners and physical comedy, seeing him in such an emotionally open role is both surprising and deeply rewarding. Naturally, the question many fans are asking is whether The Friend might be Murray's last major role. At 75, it's only natural to wonder how long he'll continue taking on leading parts. While he may still pop up in the occasional cameo, the days of carrying an entire film could be nearing their end. Those surprise appearances, like Zombieland or Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, have always been part of his charm. But even those moments may become rarer as Murray gradually steps away from the spotlight. For longtime fans, the idea of him easing into retirement is bittersweet. Still, Bill Murray's legacy is undeniable. From groundbreaking comedies to unexpectedly powerful dramatic performances, he has carved out one of the most unique careers in Hollywood. With The Friend earning strong praise and resonating emotionally, it feels like a fitting reflection of everything he's done so well. Whether this turns out to be his final leading role or simply another chapter, one thing is clear. Bill Murray has left behind a body of work that will be loved for generations. And if retirement truly is on the horizon, it seems only right that he might exit the same way he lived his career, on his own terms, still surprising us to the very end. So, what are your thoughts about Chevy Chase and Bill Murray's longtime feud? And do you think they have truly buried the hatchet and let go? Let us know in the comments section below. Thanks for watching as we revealed the legendary feud between Chevy Chase and Bill Murray. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss our next Hollywood story. While you're here, click the video on your screen to explore more fascinating tales from the world of film and comedy.